Good morning and welcome to the show. This is In Touch, and In Touch is our weekly half-hour public affairs show, which means that if you are a nonprofit group organization here in the Hudson Valley, if you are a company here in the Hudson Valley helping out a nonprofit group organization, we would love to have you on the show. Talk about what is important to you, and at the end of the show, trust me, I will give you a myriad of ways that you can get a hold of me. So let me turn on the microphones and say that first off, I'm excited to have this organization here. You guys don't know this yet. I mean, they do, but you guys don't, that they're already coming back. So, I get them before we even do a show, and then we kind of lock them in. We're going to be talking about the Food Bank of the Hudson Valley. The work that they do is amazing. It is important. It is life-saving in many instances. So it's great that you guys, with your crazy time of year that you're here. Jessica Fatanti. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
Thank you. Good. Last names, I never ever want to mispronounce them, and sometimes I freak myself out. Jessica is Special Events Coordinator with the Food Bank of the Hudson Valley. So, Jessica, good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you.
And Paul Sturmer, who is the Director of the Food Bank of the Hudson Valley. Paul, welcome. This is your first time on the show.
It is. I'm excited.
And we already got him committed to another show.
Yeah, right.
He's
We'll
like,
be
okay,
back.
I don't know. Let's see how this goes. So, obviously, like I said, the work that the food bank does is very important. And I think that if you were to ask someone, have you heard of the Food Bank of the Hudson Valley, they would say yes. But do they really know what the food bank does and how far-reaching it is and how important it is? So we always like to kind of figure out a first question, and that is, give us kind of a background of the Food Bank of the Hudson Valley. Some folks do a mission statement, kind of bring us up to speed, just so we can kind of lay down the blueprint a little bit of what we're going to do today. So Who would like to do that?
I can start.
All right, Paul.
Okay.
Go for it.
I'll add in if I can.
Good, thanks. So Food Bank of the Hudson Valley exists to help alleviate hunger here in our region and to prevent food waste. And the region that we serve is actually pretty bright and clear. The lines are very clearly drawn, and that would be the counties of Dutchess, Ulster, Sullivan, Orange, Rockland, and Putnam. So it's a relatively heavily populated area here of the lower Hudson Valley. We've been in the community for over 20 years, feeding people in need of food. A food bank. So to answer your question, I think people do sort of intuit what a food bank is. And, those perceptions may or may not be accurate. And if people know about us, that's great. If they don't know about us, that's okay too, because, hunger tends to be a problem that you really only give a lot of thought to when it's your own personal problem.
Right.
Thankfully, most of us know where our next meal is coming from, but about 10 or 12% of every man, woman, and child here in the Hudson Valley don't have that luxury. So there's a great deal of food insecurity here. You'll find that throughout the state. You'll find that throughout the nation. There are some concentrated pockets and some areas where there's a little bit less of it. But once again, it's one of those look to your left, look to your right things. One out of every 7 or 8 people here in our community, you'll see them at the mall. You'll see them at the car wash. You'll see them in your neighborhood. Don't know where their next meal is coming from. And that's where we step in.
I like how you said, that you don't pay that much attention to it unless it is your own personal problem. Because I would hazard a guess that if you were to ask individuals, do you think that there are that many hungry people, that high of a percentage in Dutchess County or any counties? I would venture a guess that people would say no, that's not accurate, because it's not something that they see and that they are aware of. But like you said, there is a lot of food insecurity. The other thing I thought was powerful, and we'll get to, is also preventing food waste, because that's not helping anybody.
Right.
If you don't have enough food for people, so yeah, I'm okay. See, I forgot to warn you. I'll say like 30 things at once, and you'll be like, I don't know, is there a question in there? We're not really sure. Okay, Jessica.
Well, no, and that is to sort of build on what Paul said. I mean, that is one of the benefits that we really are able to take advantage of in this area, that we are in not only an area with a decently large population, but also an area that is still as agricultural as it is, where we are not in, there are so many local farms and local growers who are willing and able to help us. And we work with Cornell Cooperative as well with their cleaning program, so that product that would potentially rot in the fields is able to be gleaned and donated to those who would otherwise not have it. And I mean, produce is one of those things that is so incredibly important in making sure that people get good, healthy, nutritious food, which is something that we strive to do as much as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you this. I remember I'm saying this because I remember the first time I heard this, I went, oh, wait, that makes perfect sense. So people, the food bank, you guys help out other organizations throughout the community. So kind of explain that, because that I think is even more powerful when people go to donate, that you know that you can have one place that's helping out a myriad of ways. So let's kind of explain that much better than what I'm just trying to muddle my way through.
So that's an important distinction, and one that I think we address, I would say, literally on a daily basis. So a food bank, and we're not unique in this. I think food banks generally operate in a similar fashion. A food bank finds food that would otherwise be wasted that could be coming from any number of sources. Farms, as Jessica mentioned, from retailers, from restaurants, from wholesalers, from anywhere in the community, and helps that food make its way to the people in need. Again, like 1 in every 7 or 8 of us here in the Hudson Valley.
Yeah.
However, and here's where the distinction comes in, we're not directly making food available to people in need. Right. So we have about 400 member agencies here throughout the region, and those might be churches, they might be schools, they might be other nonprofits, they might be community centers, they could be any number of things. And those are the places like, a food pantry, an emergency shelter, a soup kitchen, who are actually serving directly the people in need. So we're the, whatever you might want to call it, the liaison, making that happen, getting excess food to the people in need through those member agencies. So we, unfortunately, we can't serve people who come to our door, and I think, again, there's a little bit of misunderstanding there. But again, there's member agencies, literally hundreds all over the county or all over the region here. So most likely people will be able to find food if they need it.
Well, what's powerful is if you are someone who is serving food and you have families and you know kind of an idea of the number of people that will come every day, every week, or however a food pantry is open, you probably don't have time to be able to create these relationships in order to find this food. So what you guys are doing is enabling them to help continue to serve their population.
Sure.
And unfortunately, that population increases every year.
It does, sadly.
Yeah.
It's one of those. But we do, and certainly that goes both ways. Not only does it help the food pantries in terms of them not having to go and create these relationships where we have already done that, but certainly for our donors, it's much easier for them to bring that product or to donate that product to one physical location, and for us to then distribute it rather than having to figure out how to disperse that product through a 6-county area.
Yeah, and if you look at not repeating services and, those kinds of things, this to me is very powerful. And I think that that's important. As we were talking before we turned the microphone on, this time of year, everyone is keenly aware. The generosity opens. My prayer is that the spirit of generosity would stay open a lot longer, which would be amazing. But I'm thankful that it's there. And so at this time of year, you seem to hear more and more, but in the back of your mind, common sense says to you that this is not the only time of the year that individuals are hungry or that face with not knowing where their next meal can be. So the work that you guys do, and when we go out and we talk, which we're going to be talking about Jam the Van coming up, this is the stuff I think is powerful so that we can also say it, when we do our breaks, when we talk to people, that by donating to the Food Bank of the Hudson Valley, look at how many people you are helping. Yeah, look at how far it goes.
That is an excellent point. Last year, I think we distributed over 15 million pounds of food.
So I try to imagine what 15 million pounds of food looks like. I can't even conceive of it.
It isn't, right? Yeah.
Wow.
15 million pounds of food. And it's something that's a little bit more, I think, graspable for the average person, is that we're able to provide about 4 meals worth of food for every dollar that's donated.
Wow.
So that And that's something that comes up all the time. I mean, we have people who will donate maybe $20 and say, you know, I wish it was more. But if you multiply that $20 by 4, they're providing 80 meals. Math is clearly not my strong point.
It's not mine either. It's just a lot. You're helping a lot of people.
So it's exponentially larger for every, dollar. It really is every, it's. I think a lot of nonprofits like to use the line "every dollar helps," and certainly I think that's true in a lot of facets. For us, there's a very real, tangible.
Yeah,
a dollar goes a lot longer than I think most people recognize that it does.
Now, let me ask you this question. Being that you guys gather the food, are the liaison between whether it is a farmer, whether it is a restaurant, if there's someone listening this morning, what do they need to do? Like if they're like, wait a second, we can totally help with this. What do they need to do? What are the steps?
Let's start with contacting us, right?
Yeah.
So we do have our structure is we have folks on our staff who work with those who might have excess food, those organizations we talked about. It could be a farm, it could be a restaurant, it could be a wholesaler, it could be a grocery store, any number of things. And then we also have people who work with what we call our member agencies, and that's that group of several hundred agencies serving literally several 100,000 people here in the community. The step number one would be give us a call, find us online. And if you have excess food or if you know of people in need, we'll make the connection.
Okay, that was my follow-up question. If there is someone who knows and they're not sure
every day
where to go in their community.
We get phone calls every day from people who are looking for food and just don't know where else, where to turn in their community. We have our website is really easy. It's www.foodbankofhudsonvalley.org.
Even I can remember that without writing it down.
We tried to keep it simple.
Yeah.
And we have a list on there of all of the agencies by county, so people can go on and look and see what's in their physical location. I believe also if you call 411. That information is available there as well.
Okay. What's the phone number for you guys? I know we'll repeat it again, but I'd like to kind of
845-534-5344.
Okay. Good idea. That's very powerful. I love the fact, like when you said there's 4 meals worth of food for every dollar that is donated. I think, again, going into, this time of year when, you try to help people understand that you don't have to give $1,000. I mean, if you want to, that's totally
We're
cool.
more than happy to take that.
And that's fine. But I've always said that, if everyone listening gave $1, think about that for a second of how the population in the counties that you guys talked about, that would be so amazing and so powerful. And people often think that, well, we can't make a grand gesture. Well, you don't need to. You don't need to.
It's true. I mean, it becomes kind of a cliche, unfortunately, but nonprofits say every dollar helps and every little bit contributes. And that's true. Unfortunately, it sounds a little overused these days, but we literally got one of our direct mail appeals recently. Instead of sending a check or going online to donate, I don't know why this individual did this, but we got a bunch of coins taped to our reply card and then they mailed that to us. And I don't know what the amount came to. It was like a few dollars. But as you said, if you multiply that by people living here in the region who can contribute to an organization like ours, that really adds up. And especially when you consider, the way that an organization like ours can maximize those dollars, that really, really matters. So that person taping those coins to their reply card, bless their hearts,
right.
Fed a family of 4 for a couple nights. And that's a big, big deal.
Yeah. I remember, I don't know if it was last year's Jam. No, it was the year before Jam the Van. And, we're standing, and Rick Knight will be in here. I've never had a guest popping in, but we're going to have a guest pop in here in just a little bit. And I was at, I think, the ShopRite in Kingston. I believe I was there. And a woman came up. And she was looking kind of teary-eyed. And it doesn't take much to set me off on the teary-eyed world. Like, it doesn't. Like, the stories and, you see people donating. And they're struggling with putting food on the table and they're donating. And just your heart that is so powerful. So this woman came up and said that her and her family had always donated, but that her husband had lost his job. She had gone down to a part-time job and they now found themselves needing help. And she it was this mixture of gratitude and a little bit of embarrassment. And she was still wanting to help. And I remember her saying to me, make sure that everybody knows that you're helping out people you have no idea need help. And this has saved us. And I get teary-eyed now. Like, I don't need any help going there. Like, it's like Beth sees a commercial and cries. But I just thought that was very, very powerful. Here was an individual and her family that did something that they did every holiday. And then through no fault of their own, through life, it's just life. It's no one's fault. And they're there. And thank God you guys were there, because she wasn't sure what she was going to do. I mean, that was...
That's a good way to put it. So, again, we don't, most of our staff doesn't have direct contact with the people we ultimately serve. We have our agency folks doing that. And then through the member agencies, we're, working to alleviate hunger. But, as you mentioned, it's real life sometimes I would say all the time doesn't turn out the way we would like it to. And, any one of us, whether we think this could be the case or not, we might be one or two steps away from being in a situation where we need this kind of help, where we don't know how we're going to feed our kids, or we don't know how we're going to pay our bills or pay our mortgage or pay our utilities. And it could be a medical emergency. It could be a loss of a job. It could be any number of things that you really, truly don't control. But the biological need persists. We all need to be fed, and I hope we don't have to argue that.
No, I don't think so. And, plus, if you look at my circle of friends, and I don't think I'm unusual, we're all living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
You drop off some of those, and we're all, you're just one bad day away. And that's something else that I like to, when you guys are here to talk about for folks, especially if you need help, just please ask. It's okay. A lot of times people go, oh, someone else needs it more than me.
And that's, I think we're trained as a society to, if you're not destitute and living out the Great Depression, that somebody is more deserving. The reality is, we're talking about food. We're not talking about any great overriding. This is a real biological need. People need to eat, and I don't think anybody can argue that food is important. Food is life in a very real, literal sense. The ability to ask for help when you need to is such a powerful lesson. And there is, we were talking earlier about the fact that people aren't aware of how big the hunger issue is in the Hudson Valley. And I think part of it is that people are too embarrassed to admit that they need the help. And the other reality is that I don't know, I know for me, I was raised with the great starvation epidemic in Africa, where they were showing pictures of small, the children with the stick thin arms and the distended bellies, and somewhere that's what we think hunger looks like, and the reality is that's not what it looks like in this country at all. We serve predominantly a population of people who can go to the dollar store and buy a bag of cheese doodles for $1, and that'll fill you, but it's not going to give you nutritionally what you need. And so we actually find that you have people who are overweight and hungry.
Exactly, because the food, can I just say, and if anybody gets upset, you can tweet me. That's fine. I do not understand why junk food is so cheap and good food is so expensive. Do we not, as a society, understand what that is going to do to people and what it does? It
already is doing to people.
Right.
That's a tangent. We're not necessarily in the nutrition biz per se, although we like to provide, good, healthy food to people. But the face of hunger has literally changed here in this country in a couple generations. You used to be able to know that somebody was food insecure by looking at them. Look, there's a thin person, they must need food. And that generally was true, back during the Great Depression, Dust Bowl era. But with the proliferation of junk food and cheap food and, food that packs on calories but does little else, it's completely different. So hunger does not have a look. Hunger does not have a season. Hunger doesn't have a neighborhood. It could be any of us or all of us at any given moment.
I like that. That's something to keep in mind. Doesn't have a look. It doesn't have a season. It doesn't have a neighborhood. I need to write that down because I think that's...
I'm going to write it down too. That's not bad.
I think that's very, very powerful.
I'll just come up with our new text.
Right.
I'm telling you, that is tremendous. Are there, and I'm about to text Rick to come in, but before we do that, is there, like, if people go, okay, I'm totally going to give, this is what I want to do. Maybe I'm doing something with my company. Maybe I'm doing something with my family. What are things, or where can people find items that you guys need? And are there items that just thank you, but isn't really going to fly? Or isn't that actually may cause more work because you now have to have volunteer time to move? So just let me know. And if I've asked the wrong question,
no,
just tell
that's
me.
absolutely
That's a
fine.
great question.
It is a great question. So most of that information is listed on our website.
Okay.
Actually, if you go into the Donate Now tab, there's a place where we've listed suggested items for food donations, for food drives. In terms of items that we can't take, I know that actually anything prepared. So as much as, and this time of year is particularly timely, as much as we love the idea and we absolutely understand that there's a real visceral response about, say, baking pumpkin pies for Thanksgiving. Sadly, we can't take those unless they were cooked in a commercial kitchen.
Right, that makes sense because yep.
It's just we love, we absolutely appreciate the gesture, but
That makes
unfortunately, we're just for safety purposes. And really, if people are looking to get involved, the best thing that I can suggest to them is we and I think we touched on this briefly, and it's something that's incredibly timely with Gem the Van coming up. We have a sorting and salvage program that actually we have volunteers that come in and go through all of the product that's been donated to make sure that it's within date, to make sure that it's been safely packaged, to make sure that it's not damaged or under a recall of any kind, and that it's good, safe, healthy food. And we are always looking for volunteers to help us with that.
Okay.
So that is one of, I think, the easiest ways for people to get involved with the food bank, in terms of, and they are the masters of what is and is not acceptable at any given time. Generally speaking, I think baby formula is one of the
that would make
the triggers. Yeah, it's just so easy. It's always really about food safety. It's never about us not wanting the product, but we really do have to. We have a responsibility to the people who are depending on us for food to make sure that we're giving them the safest, healthiest food.
Absolutely.
Possible.
And I think that that's powerful because, plus the other thing, if you're going to take the time to donate, then please make sure that you're donating items that can be used.
Well,
and
I would make
and
a
that
suggestion.
makes perfect sense.
So if you think this year you're going to have one leftover pumpkin pie, how about this? Don't bake that extra pumpkin pie. Set aside that money you would have spent to get the pie and donate it, either to Food Bank of the Hudson Valley or to another worthy local charity. That works really well.
Yeah.
I like this plan. That's a good plan. Yeah.
That works. So what we'll do, I know for Jam the Van, we always have lists. We try to give lists to people whenever they go into the store, just as some ideas. Mm-hmm. So I know that Rick I think he's coming, but
he's on
his way. Jam the Van is going to be coming up the 17th and the 18th and the 19th, I believe, right? The weekend right before Thanksgiving. Yep. So Rick will speak to the specific stores where we are going to be in. But what words would you guys have for people that are like, okay, we're going to get our list, we're going in. Is there anything that you need more than anything else? I mean, I know there's lists, but you guys looking at the warehouse, you guys know like
protein.
We're going to be
protein.
Protein.
Protein is one of those things that it is incredibly necessary and usually expensive. And generally speaking, one of the things that we're always
now, when you say protein and we're doing a food drive, are we talking like canned tuna?
Is fine.
The
peanut butter also great.
Good.
Because sometimes people will come out and want to give us a turkey, and we cannot take that.
So for something
let me ask you, so
for something like Jam the Van, we can't take any fresh product.
Right.
So obviously, something like a turkey, sadly, not something that we can accept. But certainly, if someone has a turkey that they'd like to donate, I know we get this question every year. You've spent your whatever ShopRite requires you to spend to get your free turkey and don't need it,
right?
Or you've done it twice. They can certainly call us and we'll put them in touch with a local food pantry or soup kitchen that is certainly going to find that turkey a home. In terms of other things for food drives specifically, we generally ask for people not to donate glass canisters because they have this horrible tendency to break.
Yeah.
And then we unfortunately have to get rid of anything in the general vicinity of the broken because we don't want to get glass into anything.
Right.
And we, usually speaking, ask the people not donate like detergents or soaps because, again, same issue.
Yeah.
So really, we want to make sure that the product that does come in, and we do appreciate every can and bottle, is just as usable when we get it, and we can distribute it as it is when it's donated.
Perfect. So Rick is here, and like I said, I've never really done this. Guest, but come on in. Come on in. You have to move the mic because I'm sitting down. You're standing.
Okay, right.
So we want to let's go over the basic. We have about 6 minutes left. The Jam the Van stuff.
Okay, so Jam the Van is happening it starts on Thursday, November 16th, and it's a 4-day event. So it's at Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and Sunday, and that's the weekend before Thanksgiving. And it's a busy time at the ShopRite, hence why we do it, because we are the largest food drive there is in the Hudson Valley for the food bank, and the only food drive for the food bank right now that's going on. So to put that in perspective for everybody, when all the other little food banks need help, they go to the food bank. So we actually provide the only means for the food bank to get money, not the only means, but the only collection point at this time of year for them. So it's a fairly large drive. So it's 4 days, and it's 5 different ShopRite locations. So we start, the main hub for us is the ShopRite on Route 9 in Poughkeepsie. We have the ShopRite on Route 9 in Fishkill. Then we have the ShopRite on Route 299 in New Paltz. We have the ShopRite on Route 82 in LaGrange. Okay. And then we do the ShopRite on Morton Boulevard in Kingston, where the Wolf will actually be there. So, kind of we're in this town square family of stations. So each one of the stations sort of helps out. The Wolf is our second partner in this. And, of course, Mix 97.7 will be at those locations. So we have staff at all those locations for 4 days collecting food for the food bank. And what they basically do is they put these in these big tractor-trailer trucks, and then we ship it down to the food bank where they unload it. So when you talk about the glass and the items like that, it's because they're in big crates and big trucks, and it's just moving around.
Yeah, weight is a thing. It's especially when it's all packed together. I mean, just as you add more weight to that.
So you're sort of looking. So we're looking for those non-perishable food items for the 4 days. And what a lot of people do is when we're at the ShopRite location, we're handing them a list with suggestions on it. And a lot of people will just go through as they're doing their shopping. They grab a little extra for everybody else. The other thing that some people like to do is a lot of people forget. As they go through the store, they forgot to get something, so then they just leave a cash donation, and all those donations go to the food bank as well. So then the food bank can actually go and buy things they may need. There are certain needs that they know they need XYZ product for a certain group, so they can actually go out and purchase that stuff for them. So the money helps too.
We're always good with money. Cash donations, never a problem.
Rick, the one thing that they were saying, I asked if there's anything specific. They said proteins, so like canned proteins. So I feel like that gets bumped up on my list so that people will have that and be able to.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things as we get closer to the drive, we'll actually interface with the food bank and go, hey, what is it sort of on your priority list for the year? And that does change from time to time. And sometimes there's items that they really will take them, but we have so much canned soup or whatever the item happens to be. Also because they're getting donations from big corporations throughout the year. So those corporations may be giving them specific items. So then they're like, hey, we really don't need this. I mean, we'll take it if we get it, but we really don't need this. We're in more need of this. So as we get a little closer here, and I know I say closer because we're pretty close.
It's pretty close.
We'll be sharing that with you and stuff. So, Jam the Van, if you want to get more information, need a little bit more of this stuff, you can go to whatever station you're listening to right now. You can go to that station's website, and there'll be a Jam the Van piece up there. You just click on the link, and we'll get you all the info that you need.
You're just going to take over my show.
No.
No, you're fine. You're like, no, Beth, give me the microphone back. No, you can't have it. Rick, thank you very, very much.
Well,
anything else? We have a couple minutes. Anything? Are you good?
No, I'm good. Thank
you
for having me on. This is so early.
This is pre-recorded. We already told them that. But thank you. You're keeping that. You're keeping that. All right. Thank you. That's because that's what I wanted. I wanted him to be able to say where the different ShopRites are. So again, whatever station you're listening to this morning, know that on the website, if you go up to the little magnifying glass, which is on the upper right-hand corner, search In Touch, and this show will come up. And there will be an article around this. It'll be like a YouTube video, but there'll be an article and we'll have links. So we'll have links to the page. We'll have the phone number. So closing comments, final thoughts from you guys, because we've got about 3 minutes left. So Paul, any closing comments from you you'd like to?
We covered everything except one thing. So this is very personal to me because I'm a parent. When we talk about the universe of folks here in our community who are food insecure, who don't know where and when they're getting their next meal, a lot of those are kids. And, that to me just brings up the question, what sort of community is this? Where do we want to live? What sorts of attributes do we want this, this area that we all love so much to have? And for me, right up at the top of that list is we have to take care of kids.
Yeah, I completely agree. So that's something to keep in mind when you go out and you donate. You're helping the kids. You're helping families,
Absolutely.
but you're helping kids. Jessica, final thoughts?
I just would like to, again, once thank you for having us on.
Sure,
It's
absolutely.
always a pleasure. You guys are one of our favorite places to come and talk to. And just, again, reiterate, I think it is about what kind of society do we want to live in, and helping those who are, in many cases, really not through any fault of their own, needing some assistance, whether it's children, whether it's the elderly who have sort of done their life's work and are finding themselves on the other end, not quite able to make that dollar stretch really any more than they already are.
Right.
People who have had illnesses or accidents, or we work with ASPCAs, so we're even people who family is made up of so much more than just biology of it. But
Right.
we really, I think, in this day and age, I think it's all the more important to remember, we want to live. I want to live in a society where we take care of each other, and that's one of the reasons why I do what I do here with the food bank, and that's certainly, I think, a focus for us is making sure that everybody is taken care of, and even those who really can't help themselves, the children and those who are,
Yeah. I agree. Beautifully worded, both of you. Thank you guys so much. I know that this week is a crazy week for you.
A little busier than usual.
I know,
but
and
we'll survive it.
And you're here, and
we will have made it through the other side of this.
Well, thank you guys both for being here.
Thank you, Beth.
And you will be back because we already decided that.
We will.
So thank you again for being here, and thanks to all of you for being here. Hopefully there's something that you've learned, maybe something that you hadn't thought about before. Maybe some changes that you can make with your family this holiday season and other times of the year as to where you donate. If you'd like to be on the show, if you have any questions about today's show, give me a call, 845-471-1500. My extension is 159. You can email me, beth.christie@townsquaremedia.com. And you can also find me on Facebook and Pinterest and Twitter and Instagram. And I'm probably way too many places, but I'm there. So we'd love to have you on the show. Take care of yourself and those you love, and we'll see you right here next week.